Joining us by phone, Evan Siegfried. He's a GOP strategist and the author of GOP GPS. What do you make of all of this tonight?
Well, I think it's a sign of the dysfunction of the Republican Party in general. We haven't been able to govern and fulfill the promise that voters have given us. I think you're seeing that there are many different factions within the Republican Senate who want to take different approaches to Obamacare, and no greater pronouncement of that has been with Senators McCain, Murkowski, and Collins. So we've got a lot of work to do to fix Obamacare, because let's not kid ourselves, the problem still exists, but the Senate has made it very clear through Mitch McConnell that they're ready to move on and do something else.
Well, you could tell that Mitch McConnell was very distraught as he spoke there on the Senate floor, saying this is not what he expected. This is not what Americans hope for, and it's not what Americans deserve after 7 years of failed Obamacare. He says it's time to act now. We had Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. He spoke shortly after this happened, and he said, give it a couple of weeks or so after Democrats are done pounding their chests and being all excited about what happened here with the skinny repeal amendment not going through. He says, you know what? He believes that senators, lawmakers are going to come back together, circle around the wagon, and they're going to start discussing this again, because this is what they told their constituents they would do. And specifically, he said, for those of you who campaigned on talking about getting rid of Obamacare, and now you're not standing by what you said, shame on you. And for those of you who said, I think Obamacare is great and we're going to continue on with it, and you stuck by what you said, good for you. But he really let people have it, saying this is not what you told your constituents you were going to do.
Yes, the American people in 2016 showed that they were tired of politicians overpromising and under-delivering after every election cycle. And the real reality here is that we don't have that much time left to actually get something done. The 2018 premiums are going to come out in late October, and we're going to see them go up for all of these Obamacare markets. Remember last year with Arizona being close to 125% increase. And for Democrats to just close their eyes and hope that that won't happen is pure fantasy. At the same time, we're not going to be willing as a legislative body to take up health care again and Obamacare in 2018 itself, because it's an election year. And look how contentious it was at a time when it should have been very easy for the GOP to make a layup of repealing and replacing the bill. The Heritage Action Network is out with a statement tonight that is very angry at Republicans, and it's hinting that they might even back far-right challengers to senators who were unable to get this done. And that doesn't just include McCain, Collins, and Murkowski, but other Republican senators who might have voted yes, but weren't able to show the leadership and help carry this over the goal line.
So what would you say to Americans who are at home and voted for some of these senators that said they were going to repeal and replace Obamacare, and they're upset about the vote tonight? What can we do as voters, that is, in our homes? What can we do moving forward? Sometimes you feel like your hands are tied with these lawmakers.
Well, you need to call your representatives and your senators, be they Republican or Democrat, and say to them, listen, I voted for this to get fixed. I don't want this to hurt people. I want it to help people, and I want it to stop jacking up the cost of my health care and to stop hurting small businesses at the same time. And you have to make them listen. Democrats were very smart in that they did organize early and hard against this, and they flooded everyone and every Republican senator. One of the big problems that Republicans had out of the gate when it was the House bill and then the Senate bill was we were always on the defensive, saying, oh, no, it's not this. We lost the narrative battle to Democrats because it was the narrative of it's going to kill people if we repeal this, when that wasn't the case. It was just changing who had access to health coverage and it was also stopping to make people having to buy it if they didn't want it. So we need to actually better organize, and whatever bills we come up with in the future, we need to highlight how it's good and a positive impact and take the narrative away from Democrats that it somehow harms people.
So we have Evan Siegfried. We had him on before. He's a GOP strategist and the author of GOP GPS. I love that, GOP GPS. Well, speaking of our GPS, where do we go from here? We are all sorts of lost.
I think that we're going to see the Senate start and try and do tax reform. To be honest with you, for 2018, we need to put a win on the board. And Neil Gorsuch is not anything to hang our hat on. We need to be able to show that we've helped Americans economically and in their pocketbooks. And so far, we haven't done that as a Congress.
Well, yeah, you're right. There's so much that still needs to be done. And President Trump, I was wondering when we were going to hear from him, and we actually heard from him about 15 minutes ago. He took to Twitter. Go figure. He's been great at keeping us in the loop on Twitter there. 3 Republicans, this is what he had to say, 3 Republicans and 48 Democrats let the American people down. As I said from the beginning, let Obamacare implode. Then deal with it. He says, watch. What do you think about that? Let Obamacare implode.
I don't think that's the right approach, to be honest with you. I understand what the president is saying, because we have to remember Democrats built this, and they have not shown a real willingness to work with Republicans to fix this. So it's their mess, but we're the ones who have to clean it up. And I think that the president should actually extend an olive branch and say, you know what, let's show that Washington can work together and isn't the dysfunctional beast and swamp that people think it is. And Democrats, Republicans aren't always right, and Democrats aren't always wrong. I'm sure that one or two of them can bring an idea or two to the table that could actually help lessen the cost of coverage and improve the quality of care for all Americans.
So while letting it implode may not be the answer, is there a chance it might just implode? If we can't get Democrats and Republicans to see eye to eye on this, well, where do we go then?
Well, let's look at the facts. Last year in 2016, 7% of all counties in the United States had one or no insurers that provided Obamacare. And now, in 2017, that's now 33%. I don't even want to know what it would be in 2018, but it would likely be higher because more and more insurers are pulling out of the Obamacare exchanges. It doesn't work for them. It doesn't work for the people who are trying to get the insurance, and it's just not working. And while Democrats say, it's a great idea, you can give them that, but it's not well executed and it's not working, so you don't keep throwing money at the problem, which is how Democrats feel that we should do this. And I think it's time to have a very serious discussion about the future of this.
Were you surprised by what happened here tonight?
I would say that about 10 o'clock, I actually thought this was going to pass 51-48, 51-49, pardon me. And when Senator McCain came to the chamber and he had you could read the body language and how he was interacting with other Republicans and interacting with other Democrats. And he was having a conversation with Chuck Schumer, and Chuck Schumer started smiling and threw his arm around him. And then later he's having a conversation with a Senate GOP leader, I believe it was John Cornyn, and you saw the conversation end, and John Cornyn quickly flashed a thumbs down to Senator Daines. And that's when you knew there was something going on. And I think Republicans sensed that. You saw Mike Pence come out onto the floor and try and convince Senator McCain to change his vote. And then Republicans realized that was a lost cause, and they went to Senator Murkowski and tried to get her there. But I think Murkowski was also very upset with the way the White House handled her in the past day and a half. The White House had Secretary Zinke apparently threaten her to deny resources for the state of Alaska. Unfortunately, what the White House didn't realize is that Senator Murkowski is the chair of the Energy and Natural Resources Committee, which supervises and allocates all the funds for Interior. So she wasn't exactly the one you wanted to mess with on that.
Well, when talking about Senator John McCain, he just released a statement. We've been talking about, well, why did he say no? After saying yes, all of a sudden he's saying no, and he's one of the 3 to do that, and then making such a big appearance after brain cancer surgery coming on Tuesday. Still has the scar there on his eye. Just a real trooper to come in and do this, because every vote counts there. This is what he had to say. He just released a statement. He said the so-called skinny repeal amendments the Senate voted on today would not accomplish those goals. While the amendment would have repealed some of the Obamacare's most burdensome regulations, it offered no replacement to actually reform our health care system and deliver affordable, quality health care to our citizens. Do you agree with that? Do you think it was just off the mark, the skinny repeal?
I don't think the skinny repeal really got down to the nitty-gritty, and I think it caused a lot of problems as well. I was really hoping that we could come up with something better than which we had, something that eliminated state lines and enabled CMS to activate things that are proven to lower costs and improve quality of coverage, like allowing telemedicine for urban residents, because people on Medicare and Medicaid just aren't allowed to use telemedicine if they live in an urban area, and that's 80% of the country. So I think that we need to go back to the drawing board there. One thing I will say about John McCain, I know a lot of Republicans are disappointed with him right now, but I hope that many Democrats who, when the motion to proceed was being voted on, many Democrats came out, and many of them prominent figures on the left came out and said, you know what, we hope John McCain dies, and he should die soon. He deserves that brain cancer. I hope they'll apologize, because they're celebrating him as a hero right now and saying, we still stick by what we said.
Yeah, that's nasty. And he's definitely been a trooper through all of this, and coming back after that surgery to make his vote is definitely something to be noted there. So we had Senator Ted Cruz. He spoke after this final vote, and he was saying that he believes at some point everyone will come back together, lawmakers will come back together, and they will discuss this. He says after a couple of weeks that the Democrats giving their high fives and being all excited about what they were able to do there, he believes that senators are going to go back to their constituents, and they're going to have to face the American people, the same American people that they told, listen, we're going to get a deal done for you so you can have the health care that you deserve and that you want. You're not going to pay more than you need. And so he's saying that at some point they'll come back. Do you think so? And if so, how long do you think that will take? Because we've been waiting 7 years. We're getting a little tired of it.
I think senators are going to come back. The August recess, to the extent there is one, I don't think that's going to do it. I think Democrats are still going to send their legions of protesters to town halls to keep the pressure on, because they know that we still have the majority until early January 2019, and that's only if Democrats are successful in the 2018 midterms. So they need to keep the pressure on Republicans. But we're going to need to activate our grassroots to also go out and counter that. At the same time, I think the real trigger for this is going to be in late October, when the new Obamacare premium numbers come out and Americans see sticker shock at massive double-digit, maybe even triple-digit increases in how much they're going to have to pay for their insurance premiums. And the window, because of the 2018 midterm election, is really going to be November and December of this year. Maybe it'll go into January or February. But by the time March and April roll around, you're going to see legislation grind to a halt, especially major legislation, because every member of the House is going to want to get reelected and not do anything to rock the boat. And a third of the Senate is going to be in the same position as well.
All right, we have about 20 seconds here. What would you say to American voters at home? What can they do?
You need to call your representative and your senator and tell them whether you support what they've done or disagree with what they've done, even if they're a Democrat, because I live in New York, which is a pretty Democratic state, but I still make sure to make my voice heard, because they are supposed to represent all of us. All
right, Evan Siegfried, we're going to take a quick break. Once again, the so-called skinny repeal amendment to the health care bill has failed in the Senate by 51 to 49 vote. It's a serious blow to the GOP and President Trump's agenda. Of course, stick with us here on Fox News. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.